app. I know I'm already approved for that, so click on a video to playlist for videos. You know, this is push to talk. I pushed to top, but it's not doing anything. Click on add videos. Well, the thing is that I have my own YouTube station now. So, to be or not to be? That's the question today. To be or not to be an author? Whether it be nobler to be flung by bows and arrows and skewered against the wall of sales, or do we go full steam ahead and actually get that book out? And of course, like I said, the first thing that was asked, or one of the big things I'm asked, is what the heck do I want to actually have? Mike gives me a training video playback. Okay. I don't know if the video actually attached. I don't think it's done yet, so why would it be? It's just click on add videos playlist. Learning this webinar is on the air. And so far I'm digging it, but there's just obviously certain things that that I need to still figure that out. And then, you know, I'm not really sure about the quality of the video today. Some days it looks better, and the days it's a little grainy. So I might need to get something better pretty soon. The headset worked out pretty good, so at least it always has for my Blog Talk radio show. And so yes, I do a Blog Talk radio show on pretty regularly. Right now I took a couple of weeks off. And the only time I do absolutely do a show, I do a show on Sunday nights, which is tonight. Space Show is the next space with Alan Joe. That'd be Don and I. This is based on our middle names. It's kind of fun. And we talk about space. We talk about things going on in that week as far as SpaceX and NASA and all the other space groups. Quite a few of them out there. And honestly, when I met Don 6 years ago, I didn't know about all this. You know, here I was a science fiction enthusiast, yet I didn't know anything about it. So that's tonight, 7 o'clock Arizona time, most of Mountain Time, and Pacific Time. So that's 7 o'clock Pacific Time for sure. For those who want to, and of course that's a Blog Talk Radio / KWOD, that's KWOD Radio. KWOD Radio, that's my station. And I've been around for a while, a little over a year, and we have about 76,000. We have over 76,000 listeners per month now, and we're pretty excited. Very excited about that. I'm not quite sure how that happened. It went from 12,000 suddenly, and then it jumped, and is what I call a sweet spot. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about to be or not to be an author, and the issue here is that let me get started on who I am in case you don't know me, and how I got started and why I got started, and then you know, things I found out. Okay, in 2009, my partner said, "Hey, how about you publish my book? You know, here I have 3 books, you know, that we can work on." It was at the time I met him, I was working on very briefly on The Handyman with him. And that's the one that I was really most interested in. It was romance. He called it erotic, but it wasn't really erotic. Okay, I know the difference. So it was more romance, but it was written from a male point of view. And I said, look, so you need to change this to female point of view, and then you'll have something. So we worked on that together. But he had, you know, through the years, he had Moonstone and he had Ancestors that were pretty much ready to go. Ancestors needed to be finished, and Moonstone was already done. It had been sitting there for 20 years. a lot of authors had that, well, let's just say they weren't authors yet, they were writers. And writers had he had a, uh, uh, shoot, a, let's just say he stashed away a bunch of stories, mostly short stories, some ideas for stories, the beginnings of stories, and so let's just say he had a full drawer full of stories. Okay, Moonstone was done, and it was a coming of age fantasy. And so he said, "Hey, you want to publish this book?" And I said, "Well, I'm not a publisher. I'm not a book publisher." And he says, "Look, you've already published newspapers, you've already published magazines and catalogs and program books for events." I said, "What's the difference because they're all on paper?" And I said, "Well, it's a big difference because it's a completely different market." And he says, "I believe in you." Well, that's silly man that he is. But anyway, that's how it got started in 2009. And then I found out a lot about the book industry that, man, I just wish I didn't find out. So many different companies taking people, taking author or writers' money and giving them a book that's too high priced to be able to resell, and they price themselves right out of the market. And that's the other reason I decided, you know what, it's not just about publishing Dawn, it's also about, and I had a friend who said, don't publish your own work. And of course I didn't listen. So I started publishing my own work as well, but yeah, the market started changing. And the print on demand became more prevalent. It wasn't just about, and I would say, well, if I'm going to do this, I want to do this differently. I want to have authors have the ability to be their own business, and have an imprint underneath my house, which is AZ Publishing Services, LLC. So I set the foundation, made it a national company, and made it a national publishing company, and actually got to 100 ISBNs, and put everything in Bowker, did all the right stuff. Okay, made myself a LLC, so I incorporated through Arizona and set up shop, and had people coming to me who have been taken by one of these companies. Yeah, we say which ones. Well, I'm talking about, just if you want to name some, Ex Libris, iUniverse, Publish America. Yeah, it's just so many of them, and of course some of them escape me at the moment. But yeah, some of them are not so bad, but they're not really in the genre that you should be in, or they change their focus and therefore no longer really part of your. If you were, for instance, a science fiction writer, and you got into a company that is changed their focus to Christian-oriented writing, well, that's science fiction doesn't really play into that well. And science fiction writers, while they may be believers and may be religious anyway, they may not find your book because it's in a house that's strictly for Christian literature. So you have to be careful of that. And also, if you're going to sign an agreement, for love of Pete, please don't sign one that has no out clause. Okay, so I've had friends who, and a lot of authors, who have signed agreements with small presses and small publishers and these other slush houses that they can't get out of the contract now. And honestly, there's nothing I could do. Sent them to lawyers. I said, look, I can't advise you. I can tell you that I can't touch it with a 10-foot pole. So I can't take your book and republish you if you have no out clause on your agreement. So you need to become more savvy and more aware of your surroundings. So to be or not to be, which arrow are you being hit with? Are you being hit with the arrow of these companies who are taking advantage of you financially? They get $5,000 out of you, and your gold card is maxed out, and you no longer have any money to spend on actually getting any books. What's your situation? If you're an author and already done this, what's your situation? If you are if you are a writer who wants to be an author, please do it right. And again, I run class, and I'm just letting you know now, and that's part of one of the reasons why I wanted to get here and talk about it. But I don't want to get into that yet. Let's just say that I take everything from the very beginning steps of starting your own company, your own publishing company, your base, your foundation, and actually getting a physical book printed, as well as getting an ebook up for market. So I do that in 8 weeks. I teach you how to do it. We're hands-on. I mean, we're getting in there and nitty-gritty stuff and really doing it. And in 8 weeks, you will have from manuscript to book sales, your book launch. So I'm really excited, and I've done this for others, and it's really fulfilling for me, because that's really honestly the real reason I've stuck with this publishing thing, is because it's a finished product. Exciting to be part of that overall product development, and there's nothing like it. It's kind of like having, I call it, says it's like being a doctor and handing the baby over to the mother for the first time. And the mother, so elated and so excited, and checking to make sure all the fingers and toes are there, and so she got a whole and happy baby, and that's what we like to see with a book as well. Is a whole and happy, is a cover. If the cover going to attract attention, so that way people actually pick up the book and want to look at it further. Is the back cover is a text written in such a way that's intriguing enough for them to actually open up the book, and that's really the point, is get them to open up the book. So if you attribute it to a child, would others say, "Oh, isn't that a cute baby? Isn't that sweet?" and do the Google thing. So the idea is that you want to be as proud of that book as you would your baby and your child. You want to say, "This is my child. I'm so excited to have my baby in my hands." And the same thing with the book. I want you to be as happy and as excited as if you were bringing a newborn baby into the world, because that's what it is. It really is a newborn baby to you. So we're about 20 minutes into this, and I don't have absolutely any idea if anybody's even watching, but it doesn't matter, because I'm here with you. And this hopefully will be up on YouTube, so that way you guys can see it again. So 2009 I got started. Again, the idea is to, number one, you need to become prepared. Become educated in the new area that you're getting into. Don't just jump into this and say, "Hey, I got a book that I wrote 20 years ago and I want to do this too." That's wonderful, but try to do it right. Find out, find out from your state, how do I get started in a business? Because whether you like to think so or not, that book business is a business. Do not get started into this unless you actually really want to do this and want to do it right. Okay. I can't stress that enough, because I have a lot of people who, one of the reasons I almost got out of this business a couple years ago, 2012, was because, well, first of all, there's a whole market thing with the houses, but I also said, I'm tired of authors, wanting to do these books, but don't really go further into developing their craft. And what I mean by that is, it's kind of like when you start a job and you say, we have really great room for advancement, but you need to be able to take some classes. You need to learn something in this other area of the work. So that way you can go into that. You'll be qualified to go into that spot. Okay. So the same thing with a book. When you're actually writing, you need to get better at it and need to learn something from each project. So each book you should get better, not stay the same. Okay. I don't know any writer, and I'll say absolutely no writer who has started out from straight out the chute being a perfect writer. Okay. Um, Even English teachers who I have met in the past, and some of them from the future, not future, but the past. Um, Even Hemingway didn't come out the box absolutely knowing what he's going to write and doing it perfectly every time. I've had one editor, uh, Betty Ballantyne. I met her 2004 at a fantasy convention, world convention, and she said that the only author she's ever met, because she was an editor, understands, for Ballantyne books. The only writer she's ever met that didn't need hardly any. She said it maybe needed to be reformatted, but it says never needed any editing. Was Robert Heinlein. One author out of all her authors she's ever met. Only one author did not need to be edited. And she said when she did want to edit something, he would fight her tooth and nail on every little word. So he spent the time. He probably had a couple of readers who went through his book, scoured through it too. He spent the time to do it right. And he learned from his craft. Okay, so it turned out that it got to the point where he didn't need to be edited. But that was one out of how many authors? Okay, so don't think you're going to come out the chute and say that your work is perfect, because you know what? It's not going to be. So don't worry too much about that, but you got to remember that, hey, I need to make sure that I'm learning more about my craft with each and every project. That should be your goal. I want to get better at this. I want to get faster. I want to do it right the first time. And the more you do right the first time, the less it's going to cost you for editing. And also the less time it's going to take to actually get your book done. Because I've had other authors where I've had to send through 4 times or more through the editing process, because there's always other things that need to be fixed, and there's so many mistakes that when you, it's not that they were mistakes, but they didn't know. They didn't know proper English. They didn't know about punctuation. They didn't know about dialogue writing. It is a whole area. So dialogue is different in fiction than compared to quotes in a nonfiction book. So you got to know all these things, and you're not going to know everything. And some of the rules that I thought I knew wound up being either changed through the years, or because I grew up being a journalism major in college, and so I went through journalism. I used to scour things through the style sheet, and style sheet for journalism is a little different than English, but also different for the book writing process. So if you're an English teacher and hey, I know how to do English, so therefore I know how to edit a book. No, sorry, you don't, because there's certainly, again, all I really do is you're going to get the Chicago, what they call it. I'm sorry, blanking out here. It's an editing book for the Chicago style, and if you get one of those books, and you'll be able to learn quite a bit from that. And of course, as you're writing, don't hesitate to go in there and actually double check on things. But even more so, be a reader. To be a writer, you need to be a reader. There really is no way to get around that. If you're a journalism major, you need to read the paper, because writing for a paper is different than writing an article for. I'm sorry. Writing for the newspaper is different than writing a book. Okay. article writing is about the same thing as newspaper because it's who, what, where, when, and why. The newspaper is a little different than magazine. So you see, each of them have their own style and their own rules that you have to follow. And so you need to learn those rules and then stick by them and then get better at it. And by learning the rules, you'll wind up getting faster in your writing. You won't have to spend too much time going back and looking at the rules and figuring them out. And it's just, and honestly, I'm going to tell you a story. Shoot, what year was it? 2010? No, actually, it was before I met Don, so would have been 2005 or 6. I went to a writers conference, which I did several of. Okay, to learn how to get better at their craft and who's buying what, and speaking to the agents and the publishers who were there. I sat in front of an agent, and she said, first of all, I want you to, she was reading through at the beginning of my book, and she said, first of all, I want to tell you that you've got something here. You seem to have an ability to tell a story. There's your first thing. You need the ability to tell a story. This is fiction writing, so therefore you need the ability to tell a story. She said, but now do you want to know what you did wrong? And she waited. And I said, well, of course. I spent, $250, $300 for this conference. Of course I want to learn what I did wrong so that way I get better. She said, and I quote, "You will not believe how many people do not want to know what they did wrong." You're freaking kidding me. People, you have got to learn to open up and not take things so personally when it comes to writing, because if you let yourself be slung by those bows and arrows every time anybody says anything about your book and about the story and whether or not you should change this or that, you're going to be bleeding. I mean, to the point of, you might as well be in a horror movie, okay? So understand that when they give you constructive criticism is meant for you to learn from, not to take personally. So take the constructive criticism and learn from it. Okay. So she told me, and yes, I'm gonna say, because I've taken this constructive criticism. She said, she could have said, you're a doofus. You don't know how to do dialogue. Go back to school and finish your learning. I had already had a college degree by this point. A college degree, yeah, okay, in business administration. A college degree means I went through English 101, 102, advanced English. I already did all that stuff. Okay, 4 years of college, and yet I had an agent tell me that I didn't know how to write dialogue correctly. 4 years of college. Okay. So you gird your loins, and I said really, and she explained it, how it should read and how it should look. Oh my God, this was like revelation to me. This totally didn't realize it, and yet here I am, a reader. Been a reader for 30 some odd years. 40, by the time this was about 40 years, 40 some odd years of reading. 4 years of college. Okay, and yet I didn't know how to do dialogue right. So I said, oh my gosh. I mean, it honestly was worth the $300 for the conference for no other reason than I learned a major thing. I did not know dialogue, did not know how to write it right, I did not know how to punctuate it correctly. So I went back and I pulled some books off the shelf and I looked at the other books that were published by the Big Six publishers. Look at the professional books. Do not look at the books that were done by other small presses or other self-publishers, because most, I'm sorry, but 95% of you are not doing it right. Okay, so just like me, I didn't know. So what you don't know. Okay, so I looked at the Big Six publishers and grabbed some books and looked at it and said, "Holy crap! She was absolutely right. I was not punctuating it right and not doing it right." I learned, and from now on, I know what the rules are. I edit other people because of it. And one of the first things I check is, did they get the dialogue right? Okay. So it's one of the first things I look at. Also, I just, somebody hands me the book, I randomly open it up, and it just any page, and in the middle of the book, typically, right where the slow parts are, instead of the first 50 pages, which I know that you probably already scoured through 20,000 times. Okay, that's not where I'm checking. I just randomly open the book. Yeah, I better get some dialogue in those 2 pages that are open in front of me. Because if there's not, and it's all narrative, I'm going to say, okay, now you're really silly. But this is a fiction book, needs to have dialogue, doesn't need to be narrative, needs to show instead of tell, and you need to get the punctuation right for the dialogue. Okay, so those are the things. Those are the things that I'm looking at first. If I'm reading any specific places in your book, am I compelled? Let's say compelled to keep reading. Okay, that's something that the agent said to me. It says, I feel compelled to read the rest of this. I did my job right. She felt compelled. She wanted to read the rest of it. So this is interesting. I want to know. I want to know more about this character. I want to know what happens to her. I want to know. And so that's your job as a storyteller. Okay. Now, I got a lot of people say, Patty, you're a fiction writer. Well, I'm not just a fiction writer, by the way, but you say, hey, I got nonfiction only. I don't write this fiction stuff, I don't read the fiction stuff. I only read, I'm a nonfiction reader and writer. Okay. I got it. Okay. Nonfiction, obviously you don't have to worry about dialogue, but you do have to worry about other things like quotations and getting your reference material and making sure that the bibliography is set for your reference material. So when you find something, you need to pull it and write it down. Keep track of it on, some file in your, in the folder that goes along with your book. Okay. That way, when you go back and do your book, you're going to need to put reference in there, whether you do it at the end of each chapter, or I think it's actually a lot less intrusive if you put it at the end of the chapter or at the end of the book. It's really complicated for ebooks if you try to put it at the bottom of the page. And I can't even imagine trying to do that in Word, considering that, the footers and headers are such a nightmare. Otherwise, Microsoft Word is just blows my mind how hard that's become. But that's another story. The story here is, do you want to do this right? Do you have a compelling story to tell if it's fiction? Do you have something that some knowledge of something that you know, or something that you've researched really well that you want to share with others? Why is it that you want to write the book? Why is it or if you're already done, why is it that you wrote the book? You need to know this. One of the things that I have most new authors do is and I also teach is media kits. Say, well, geez, media kit. Yeah, that's the narratives on TV and radio and da da da. It's not just for that. It's actually so that way you can understand the different things that you need to know about your book. And actually, it's kind of like a relationship. Say, hey, I like this cute guy. I want to get to know him better. So I start asking questions. I start getting to know them. I understand more how they tick. So I say, I think I can take this step further, but we need to find out if that person does too. So you get to really know your book project. So you need to know how much further is it going to go. Is there going to be another book behind it? Is this a part of a series if it's fiction, or is it part of a series that you're thinking about in the future? Is it going to be a Star Wars where you're starting in the middle and you go back to the beginning and then and then go back to the end? Is it going to be like that? You got to figure out all these things. It doesn't need to be absolutely no, but I'm saying, what is your overall goal and plan with your book? Is it just that you need a nonfiction book to sell at the back of the room for when you go and speak? I think that's an awesome idea. You really absolutely, if you're a speaker, I'm going to tell you this, if you're a speaker and you don't have a book to sell in the back of the room, you are losing potential sales and a total loss of a revenue stream. Total loss. Might as well not even be speaking. Well, yeah, I mean, you're making money speaking, but they're not taking any piece of you home. Okay? And get that book done. Get it done. Stop with the speaking and get the blanket book done. Okay? And then call me. I can help you. Get the book done. Like I said, you get in this class in 8 weeks, your book will be done. As long as you have it written, and start going through the editing process, you can have that book in your hands in 8 weeks. And I teach you everything from getting started with your business structure, with your publishing company, how to get it started, what you need, what do you need to know about ISBNs, what you need to know about copyrights, what you need to know about library system, what you need to know about distribution, what do you need to know about what was it? The 3 things that what 3 things are stopping authors from making book sales? Okay, it's one of the webinars I have coming up. What 3 things do Big 6 publishers get right the authors should be emulating? I know, it's intriguing, isn't it? Why bookstores aren't the best place to sell books? Bet you're wondering about that now. See, I've been doing this since 2009. I don't know very many others of you have been doing that long. Top 3 areas that authors could be cashing in on their books. In other words, other revenue streams. Top media to use for increased exposure and driving book sales. I bet you want to know about that one, don't you? Top 5 ways to save money and share work. Top 5 ways to share money, to save money and share the workload in book promotion and marketing. Sorry, I wrote this in the middle of the night. Top 6 reasons why authors lose money by sticking with Kindle-only sales. I bet you want to know about that one, don't you? And how I accidentally branded my name over my publisher name. What was good and bad about this? So, again, I've been doing this since 2009. I've got 68 books that I've helped to produce in some manner, whether it's a cover, interior, to whole shoot and match, cover, interior, marketing, publicity, sales, distribution. Is there anything I haven't done in publishing? I don't think so. I'm also a graphic designer and have been for 24 years, and actually worked for the print shop where we actually did books. So, give me an email, shoot me an email. If you're on my Google Hangouts, if you're on my circle, if you want to be in my circle, let me know. I'll attach you, I add you. If you're an author, let me know if you're an author, and I'll put you in author circle. If you're a writer, want to be an author, then I'll put you in that circle. So that way, get the right information. Again, I got all these different webinars coming up, so you definitely want to get part of that. I had already done a Google Hangout on ISBNs and what the whole poop is about that. That's one of the biggest areas that writers and authors just don't understand, and don't understand that they're giving their rights away as in distribution if they let somebody give them a free ISBN. And I'm talking, whether it's Amazon giving you a free ISBN or if they charge you $12. I said 12, something like that. I think it's 12 or 20. Tina was on here. She'd be able to tell me. I think it's 20. And I think that's just that way it takes off the little blurb on it. It says it was published through Amazon. Okay. What's good and bad about doing that? I know a lot of things. And it's the things that authors don't know, that they just say, hey, why should I go through a big publisher? That's okay. You don't want to take the time to go through a big publisher and don't want the hassle and don't want the time. You get to be 50 years old, so I don't want to go through all that because I'm just not going to live that many more years. So I really, really want to get this book done now and don't want to wait a couple of years for this book to actually get done. And that's just after the time you actually sign the agreement with or contract with the publisher. There's good and bad things about both. If you're young enough and you really want to get this published by a big, sick publisher, I can show you how to do that. Do I promise it? I can't promise it because, honestly, there's no way to promise it. I do know what they're looking for based on experience from sitting in front of publishers and agents. I would be, if we're going to advise and advise all of you, is that to be or not to be an author. Decide that first. Decide you're going to do it right. Get your foundation set for your publishing company. Okay. Get yourself established as an author and as a publisher. But actually, don't establish yourself as the publisher. Establish yourself as the author. The publisher name should not be your name. It should be just some obscure name. That way, it looks like a different publisher's actually. It's just perception. And honestly, most people are like this. It's a matter of perception. Okay. So look like you are separate. Your author you being an author is separate from the publishing company. So give it that perception that you guys are separate. Okay, so that's my first advice. Second or third is establish your publishing company. Give yourself a firm foundation first. Find out. Go on Bowker.com, BOWKER. That's BOWKER.com. Look for ISBN information. They are the keepers of the numbers. They are the keepers of the numbers. Therefore, they are the gatekeepers. They know the rules because they set the rules. You want to find out the real poop about this ISBN thing and whether or not, Amazon now has my rights to be a distributor? Go on Bowker. They are the keeper of the codes. They're the keeper of the numbers. They are the gatekeepers. Go on there. The rules are right there. And I said this in class. You guys need to go and I give you guys the links and say, I read it to you. And say, so, when you get free ISBNs from Smashwords, who owns the distribution rights for those ebooks? This ebooks only. Smashwords is ebooks only. Who is the owner of that ISBN? Not you. It's not you, and it's not your publishing company. It's Smashwords. Okay. So be careful out there, people. Saying, oh, they're giving me this or giving me that. For goodness sakes, let that gift horse in their mouth and say, why are you giving me this for free? Is it so that way you can get more business out of me? Well, I understand that. But really, why are you giving me this for free? So, I spend a lot of time digging. I dig dirt. Used to be a journalism major. I really dig and read it and just decipher what is it that they're trying to get out of me. So we're about 10 minutes into the hour, and this is where usually we do question and answers, but I don't see anybody actually asking any questions online from the ants. See if we can focus you. It says I need to focus. I don't think I got that many better to. What's autofocus? I think that's worse, isn't it? So, the things we're going to learn as I'm doing this, I might have to get a different thing, but it says focus. Oh, that'd be interesting. Let's do it in black and white and see what it looks like. I'm kidding. Ants. But that's a big thing, is deciding whether or not you want to be, it's one thing to be a writer, another thing to be an author and published. And if once you become a published author, this is a business, therefore act like it, be professional with it, do the book right. Okay, don't skimp on it. And if you can't pay for a decent $100 to $250 for cover, then save the money up, or find a way to get a credit card and figure out a budget. And it's, again, you have to take your time to do those things right that really meant to do. And I can't stress that enough. Take the time to do it right. It will make you a lot more money, and something I wish I would have known going into this back in 2009. The things that I didn't know that I'm teaching now for others cost me thousands of dollars. Thousands. Can you afford to lose that? Says, well, how did you lose thousands? Lost it in lost inventory that I could no longer sell. Okay, I lost it in adding ISBNs to books that we're never going to sell. I lost it in believing in certain books that didn't sell at all, or the author just wasn't going to do their part in making this again a partnership. And if you find a publisher, it really is about almost a marriage. Okay, if I'm an editor, I'm a publisher, and also a managing editor for a newspaper. Journalism, see? There's my journalism. Managing editor for a publisher, graphic designer for 24 years. I've got a lot of experience in all the different facets that go into a book. But even with that experience that I started with, which was the beginning, in 2009, I didn't know certain things. I didn't know about the sheer costs of getting involved and actually becoming a publisher. I think yeah, 2 years ago I started weeding out some of the books and still weeding actually, and I'm getting back into this even after 2 years of pretty much a hiatus. And I was teaching other people how to do it, but didn't want to do the publishing thing anymore. Uh, yeah, no, I mean publishing myself and my partner's one thing, but I didn't want to do anybody else. And then and I realized after doing some teaching that I got in this for the right reason, and I think that I continue. I still have a lot of things to give now, actually more than ever. Um, but you guys really need to learn to do that. If you're going to get involved with this business, then do it right. To be or not to be, that is the question that you need to answer first before you even set foot into the arena of book publishing. My name is Patty Holstrand, or PJ Holstrand, depending on whether I'm working in media or my books. You have any questions from me? I'm on Facebook at pj.hultstrand, and that's spelled with two T's, HULTSTRAND, Hultstrand. So pj.hultstrand is my Facebook page. Also, you can find me. You can also find the WAD newspaper. That's WOD, the WAD. Also, we have the newspaper online at thewad.net. That's the at WOD.net. Articles in there. It's all pop culture oriented. It's movies, costuming, cosplay, history, fantasy, sci-fi, horror, all those things. Zombies, the apocalypse, all that stuff is all into pop culture and things like gaming, different games that are out now. Then we talk about all that stuff. We talk about science, about space, the future, our future, because that's to me is science fiction made into reality. We talk about 3D printing. We talk about Google the glasses, all that stuff. So it's a broad. Pop culture is a pretty wide subject matter, and I bring it all into a newspaper and also a website and the radio show, KWAD Radio. Again, it's a blog talk show, blog talk radio / KWAD. That's KWOD Radio. KWAD Radio. You can also Google me. I'm going to say Google my name, Google KWAD Radio, and you will see all sorts of stuff. I do teach that, how to get your name into more locations, how to brand your name accidentally or otherwise, like I've done. So it's Saturday, Sunday morning, and we're about 4 minutes in. 4 minutes top of the hour, and I've had fun talking to you guys. And again, I've got a class coming up. That's an 8-week course. It's going to be online. Also, if you live in Arizona, I've got one already started with the jungle marketing, jungle marketing survival for authors. I've got that one right now in Scottsdale, and we just had our first class a couple weeks ago, and then we have another one, our second one for. This is a 3-week course for Module 1 and then Module 2. I go through everything from media kits. I mean, we're really digging deep here. We sit down after do the media kits. We do a marketing plan. We talk about the different things that you need for the marketing plan, depending on your book type. We talk about, I even take a look at the covers and critique them for you. So, yes, that does cost. After all, it's my expertise, and got to get paid to do something. So, But I do keep it low. I keep it a good price. And if you want both modules, it's like 150. It's again, it's not that much. The Manuscript 2 book launch in 8 weeks. Again, that's an 8-week online course. It's 2 hours for each session, starting on Monday, 26. I want to say 26. Let me look at the calendar fast. Don't want to give you false information here. 23rd. Good thing I looked. 26 is actually a Thursday. 23rd, Monday the 23rd at 6 o'clock, which will be Pacific time. We're going to be doing Google Hangouts just like we do here. This one will be, and I'd say that this particular class is 175. And I, again, take you from the very beginning of how to set up your company and help you to find that information and help you to get your business started. And teach you where you need to get to your broker, information about the ISBNs, and barcodes, how you can save your money in barcodes by doing them online for free, how to do that. Oh Jesus, there's just so many things, and of course talking about, I even talked a little bit about media kits, and some of these items that we're talking about the panels we know. We got about 1 minute left. 3 things stopping authors from making book sales: editing, how to deal with a cover, how to produce it, how to produce the interior. So I think we're off. I'm excited to be there. Again, this was to be or not to be. I'll probably broadcast another one some other time, but until then, you guys stay real and get the book done. And if you need help, you know where to find me. Again, Google me, I'm everywhere. This is PJ Holstrand, KWAD Radio, and our own station on YouTube for WAD Media, signing out.